Welcome to the 1916 Company. This is Watches Tonight. I am your host, Tim Mosso. This evening, we've got Sid on the switcher, and I predict the 2025 Omega Watch novelties. That's right, I am going to glance into my crystal ball and forecast the best of my ability, but without prior knowledge, what's coming down the pike from the great Rolex rival and luxury standard in BN. We're going to chat live, and I share your wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. Now, guys, while we're warming up, do me a favor, open up a new window, keep me streaming, pull open your phone, and check me out on TikTok. That's right, I am now the oldest TikTok teen in the world, and I am updating my new Tim Mosso account. We're going to feature some stuff that is TikTok exclusive, so we're going to have some of those 1-minute reviews from my Instagram account, but we're also going to have a lot more kind of jocular, lighthearted, fun-loving, silly, and very personal Tim Mosso-oriented content. So it's still going to be focused on work and still going to be focused on watches. It is going to be a lot different in character. So if you're following me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. All right, let's see what's going on in the box. Edward Ledden of Sweden, Soma R. We've got Sutats, Enrique Cassiano, Miroslav. We've got Rick on Watches, Michael Everywhere from Manhattan, Sean Hansen from Arizona, Cull Obsidian, Arto Charles from New York City. We got Jeff S. Yes, I am rocking my Dan Reuter tonight. For nostalgic purposes, I thought I would bring back one of the brightest watches for some of the darkest months of the year. Slowboy Fuel Pump from Knoxville, Tennessee. We got Mateo C. We got Moto Gunner from Athens, Georgia. You're in the show tonight. Keystar G60. And we've got Avant T from Hamburg, and Herb Merced joining in along with Hazel Bolivar. First TikTok follower here. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Lloyd Kerr, welcome from Mexico this time. So, guys, wrist shots number 1, instant gratification. I asked you answered, starting with Gus G of Georgia. Mr. Moto Gunner starts us with a topical and timely set of Omega Speedmaster and Omega Seamaster. I love it. Jeff S., he's also in the box tonight, sports 2 of my favorite things with his Rolls-Royce Ghost Black Badge and Breguet 7597 Retrograde. Hardcore hardware. I love that clock. And then we've also got Tim, Kate, Rob, Josh, and Gary. You're never going to see this again, but they're all wearing the 42mm titanium Yachtmaster. Yes, every single one of them. Well done. Jeb B. Thrills with a personal favorite, H. Moser and C. Perpetual Calendar Tantalum with blue enamel dial taken off from Phoenix, Arizona. And got Roberto T., who blows up the entire segment tonight with his mental Vacheron Constantin Tourbillon Squelette. This is a wild watch. You're going to have to send me a better shot of it, frankly, Roberto. It's so charismatic, I need to see it in greater detail. I will post it up in a second consecutive episode. Welcome, guys. Wrist shots, send them to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com to see your pieces on these pixels. And guys, by the way, 2025 Omega watches. The 2024 model year is basically done. From a new model standpoint, everything you see going forward is going to be either pre-2025 and 2025 releases in earnest. So that's what we're going to be seeing between now and, I guess, Watches and Wonders. Of course, Swatch Group likes to be on its own schedule, and every once in a while there's a release that comes mid-year or late year, but all the action for the most part is going to be between now and April. So, since Omega is the second largest name in watches, and I can't talk about the largest, let's dig deeply into a brand I know we all love and see if we can't guess some of what's in the 2025 pipeline tonight. Okay, Mason 1 joining us from the UK, staying up. 50 Fathoms, 5015 on the wrist, you know I love it. Mark S. from Brooklyn, Dr. Stu in the box, Junior Johnson from Michigan, and we've got Norm M. from an uncharacteristically cloudy California. Clive Williams from London, welcome. Okay, guys, so important things here. Speedmaster. I have 3 specific predictions for the iconic Omega model line. Now, of course, there are many different kinds of Speedmasters. Some are big, some are small, some are simple, some are complicated, some are automatic, and some are manual wind. But I think we can all agree that the Moonwatch is the heart, the soul, and the emotional center. So this is what I think is going to happen to the Moonwatch this year. We've been waiting for a long time, but I think we're going to get a full ceramic Moonwatch. And by that, I don't mean the previous dark side, gray side, Apollo 8. I don't mean 44.25 millimeter cases. I mean a 42 millimeter Moonwatch, possibly even professional labeled, that is going to take the ceramic case, the Moonwatch sole, unite them in one killer app. So here's what I think. The 2013 Dark Side of the Moon was a blockbuster in its day, but 11 years after that milestone launch, the Dark Side's 44.25 millimeter case remains the only size available if you want a ceramic Speedmaster, and I think that will change this year. Having launched everything and then some connected with the post-2019 redevelopment of the Speedmaster line, the time has come for a ceramic 42mm Speedmaster Professional, and possibly several of them. I think you could see a Speedy Pro, but I also think you could see a lot of other 42mm ceramic models. We could see, of course, the classic Moonwatch. We could see a racing dial. We could see a dark side, maybe a second generation dark side. Maybe the successor to this watch, which is technically still in its first generation, is going to be a 42mm case. And if that's true, then it's true for the gray side. It's true for the black, the vintage black. It's true for the white side. We could see this become an entire build-out of conventionally sized 42mm ceramic Moonwatch cases. We could even see the ceramic in new colors that we've never hitherto witnessed in order to mark this milestone. A true Speedmaster Professional in ceramic may be coming, and I think there's a room in that scenario for a first of these Omegas, which would include a full ceramic bracelet to match a ceramic Speedmaster. And that would keep the Moonwatch identity strong in spite of a material swap. I think the best way to do a ceramic Moonwatch is to offer it right out of the gate with a new for Omega full ceramic bracelet, right down to the links and the clasp. The Moonwatch comes on a bracelet. Why not a ceramic Moonwatch? I think this would be a breakthrough product, and even if they just made it in gray and black ceramic, this would be something that would open up an entirely new field of development. They could run with it for years. And I think the Moonwatch, the Speedmaster Professional specifically, is the place to start with this. The dark gray and all ceramic sides of the Moon, really, they're still in their first generation. It's hard to believe given the time that they've been on the market, but it's true. I think this is the year that we're going to see a change, and it will be a sea change. So it makes total sense that after 10 years or more, Omega reads the currents of the market and downsizes all of these ceramic Speedmasters to 42 in their second generations. What else is going on in the box? Norm M, when is Omega going to 4 Hertz and more than 56 hours of power reserve? Well, there are some manual wind Omegas right now that have 70, but I agree with you. They need more than 60, which is the standard. And I don't know that they need a higher beat rate, because with SPY rate, they can get, -0 plus 2 seconds a day. Remember, it's not the beat rate of the movement. It's total refinement. It is the totality of the features. I don't think Omega needs a higher beat rate, but we are going to talk about power reserve, because Omega, you and I need to have a heart-to-heart about this, and I think I speak for many. Another prediction for the Speedmaster, a calendar chronograph. So, starting in the 2019 model year, which corresponded to 50 years since the Omega-equipped Apollo 11 moon mission, we've witnessed a colossal build-out of the Speedmaster collection that includes everything from the caliber 321 Ed White, which is a pre-moon vintage style reference, to the staggeringly high horology Chrono Chime, which is possibly the most impressive chronograph made by anyone right now. But where is the Speedmaster with a calendar system? Dado Compact's watches, historically from Rolex, Heuer, Breitling, and many others, have featured calendars and chronographs in compound complications. Omega, let's not forget, has its annual calendar system first seen on the Hour Vision and currently available on the Globemasters. And I'm not sure that the Globemaster system would integrate well, given all the coaxial hands and the stack height of a chronograph. But the Hour Vision's aperture display would be just about perfect for a chronograph. Since Omega Chronos already have a date, why not add a day, or a month in this case? Having both gives you an annual calendar. So, why stop there? When you've already got a $500,000 repeating chrono chime in solid gold with an aventurine enamel dial, why not make your Speedmaster calendar model a full Perpetual one. In 1991, Omega did exactly that, launching a Perpetual calendar Speedmaster, a 50-piece limited edition to mark 700 years of Swiss nationhood. And yes, it was a reduced style, but the proof is in the practice, and Omega has already done a Perpetual calendar chrono. Now it's time to reimagine this for a modern audience. I'm not sure whether this model's subdial system is the most effective for a modern revival, since I like aperture-style calendars, and here's a great example with the Patek Philippe 5205-13. That is how I like my calendars laid out. They are also easier to read. But the important thing is that Omega has been here before in the modern era, post-quartz crisis, and a calendar system seems like the most obvious hole in the current Speedmaster collection. So, Omega, I'm throwing down the gauntlet now. Let's see some sort of complex calendar. And not just triple calendar, not just a moon phase. Let's see an annual, or let's see a perpetual. That would be very cool. And remember, even Breitling's doing QPs these days. You want a leg up on your other two luxury rivals in the mainstream space? Full-blown QP chrono. Okay, we have suggestions from the chat box now. Norm M. More watch dials should be pie pan. It is a unique, attractive dial. Mason 1. How about a 321 caliber in the 42mm steel Speedmaster format? Jeff S. I am one of the largest Speedmaster collectors in the US, which means you've got the will and the means to be a customer for that calendar chrono from Omega. Omega, the public has asked, will you answer? We've got Kevin S. dropping in from Philly. We've got Miroslav saying calendar chrono speedy sounds like SF. Anything's possible. Gags 11.7, all from Ascot, UK. And Cull Obsidian, any chance of Omega dropping MSRP? It's almost a recession for everyone but Rolex, Patek, AP, and RM. And Jeff S saying 100% ceramic bracelet within a few months. From your lips or your keyboard to God's ears. And Rich Mitch saying, just got to wait for the secondary prices to hit. Not a bad idea, as Omega, with its 5-year warranty and durable goods, you probably don't need to service much more than 5 to 10 years at a time. So if you get one 2 or 3 years old, that's a great way to buy. That is why we have an extensive pre-owned collection on the1916company.com. We've got P. Rao joining in, and Steve saying, I just bought an Aquaterra 41 in green for my birthday. Happy birthday, and wear it in good health, my man. Congratulations. Andrew joining in from Guernsey, and Dale Smith in the box. I'm happy to see you, Dale. OT, hello from Italy. We don't get many Italians or Italian viewers. So guys, why not go full gas with the new Speedmaster split seconds? So again, we've been here in the late 1990s with the Speedmaster Rattrapante. This is a watch that was made, and made beautifully, in a fashion not altogether that different from the X33 of the same time. Now, they don't use the same case. It's a myth that this was actually a repurposed X33 case, but it was a fascinating and briefly made addition to the Speedmaster chronology. They went there again in 2006 with the Speedmaster Broad Arrow split second, and now we have something that is more of a conventional format Speedmaster, and it's sort of laying the groundwork to what might be a big revival this model year. So, while potentially useful for aviation, the split seconds chronograph historically has been associated with competitive events such as motorsports. And we all love the late, great BMW Williams, or I guess we should say Williams BMW V12 LMR. That was one of the coolest Le Mans prototypes ever. If you've heard the new Aston Martin that's entering GTP in IMSA for Daytona, this thing was that, at least audibly, before the Aston was the Aston. V12s on the Molson Straight, you gotta be kidding me. This thing screamed. It was awesome. But again, motorsports requires you to gauge two separate intervals, one car following another, and whether the gap between them is waxing and waning, which is why the split-second chronograph is often described as a motorsports complication. And while it's pretty clear that a Rattrapante chronograph option is a bald spot in the current Speedmaster lineup, I double the challenge for Omega to come out with an all-new caliber to achieve this, because I don't think the easy route used in the past would be repeated, where, for example, a Valjoux 7750 architecture or a Frédéric Piguet 1285 was employed. I think if we see this, it could be not only something that is an Omega exclusive caliber, but maybe even the roots of an all-new chronograph movement for Omega. Killing off two birds with one stone would be very impressive, and we do need to talk about Omega's movements. We're going to get there. I would say that the sheer thickness of the current 9900 chronograph series, it's 7.6 millimeters. I don't think it would leave enough space for a second chronograph bridge, train, column wheel, and clutch, unless the resulting watch becomes as thick as a Seamaster Ultra Deep. And I don't think we want a motorsports chronograph that's as thick as a hardcore diver. In short, both the split-second chrono and the potential calendar chronograph might require an all-new base caliber. More on that soon. First, viewer wrist shots. Kudzu Man finds that two-tone gold sits at the end of the rainbow with his GMT on an Aran bespoke strap. Looking good. Mo K of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the home of Happy Days. And Arthur Fonzarelli, well, he thrills with the Chopard Alpine Eagle XPS 41. Rest assured, the Fonz never had it so good. Roy S., Hanson the dog, and the Rolex Day-Date Vignette Dial prepare for some rough weather ahead. I hope it went well. Jake S. fields a catalog-worthy wrist shot of his Omega Speedmaster Professional Diver 300-meter Paris Olympic Games 2024. Looking good. And Tom B. impresses with new vintage, as we call these, and his 1996 Cartier Pasha de Cartier Diver. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag at thewatchbox.com for old time's sake to see your watch in this box, or send it to the1916company.com to see your passion in this fashion. What else is going on in the box? Enrique Casiano saying Mazda 787B greater than any V12. I do think there's a fine line between ear-bleeding scream and good loud. Like, I think the multiple rotor Mazda run by Orica back, what was it, 1991, that would literally make your ears bleed. It sounds great from half a mile's distance, but trackside, you will suffer hearing loss. The V12s on the BMW and the new Aston Martin, they're good loud. Like, there is a difference. And if you've ever heard like a bad aftermarket Harley Davidson exhaust, you know exactly what I mean. But I do love that Mazda all the same. It will always be the first Japanese car to win Le Mans overall. We got R. Wild saying, just bought an Omega Constellation 41 meteorite dial. The dial is amazing. Let's get more meteorite on the Speedmasters. Wear it well in good health and good times. Frank M., he's a regular on the Facebook. Now he's in the box. Hi, Tim and the gang. From Toronto, joining the chat for the first time. Love your content. Frank, I always appreciate that you tune into our Facebook live chats. By the way, if you're joining in mid-show, check me out on TikTok. I'm Tim Mosso. It is all new. It's going to be a little bit sillier than my Instagram feed. You're still going to get all the same quality content. However, you will not be missing anything if you only follow me on Instagram, but you might be missing a few laughs if you don't follow me on TikTok. All right, guys, jumping back in. Omega Watches 2025. We're looking at what Omega is going to launch next year, and maybe late this year as pre-2025. So in 2007, I was a recent college graduate in love with a watch I encountered while commuting daily, 2 times a day, through New York City's Pennsylvania Station, Penn Station. The Torno shop at the station, back then they had one, featured the DeVille Hour Vision, a watch that was in itself something of a dead end for Omega. Far more consequential was the caliber 8500 launched on the Hour Vision, a singular consciousness that would spawn an entire race of machines. Wait, that's a different narrative. My mistake. Not exactly, but sort of. So, in terms of its importance and its scope, it now forms the basis for almost every single Omega watch. With the exception of the 8800 series that you find on, for example, a basic diver 300 meter, this is all over the Seamaster and the Speedmaster and the DeVille collections. It has twin barrels, coaxial tri-level escapement, anti-magnetic escapement balance and hairspring. It's a master chronometer. It is durable like a sports watch movement should, but it's also accurate like a fine movement should be. It is shock resistant, anti-magnetic, unerringly precise, and more so every year as additional refinements are added. It eventually took over the entire Omega catalog, and it is, in short, to Omega what the 3200 series movements are to Rolex. However, there are some shortcomings. For instance, power reserve is only 60 hours, and it's a thick movement. At a bare minimum, 5.5 millimeters with automatic winding. Also, the complications like GMTs, moon phase, and chronograph are non-integrated, so when you get one of those powered by this base, it turns out to be very thick indeed. So all those great things, the tri-level coaxial, the bespoke coaxial escapement, unlike anything Daniels or Roger Smith ever used, the accuracy, the durability, the projectable development work over almost 2 decades now as it's grown with Omega's technology, the METAS certification, the SPY rate regulator, and all of the complications it powers, those are the arguments in favor. But you got to remember that the current automatic METAS certified 8900, it is 5.5 millimeters, and when you add the 9900 chronograph parts, now it's 7.6 millimeters. It gets thicker with moon phase or GMT or an enamel dial like the Aventurine. For comparison, the Valjoux 7750 is 7.9 millimeters thick. And remember, the 7750 was created by grafting a calendar and automatic winding system to what was originally a Venus 188 manual wind. So the purpose-built Omega, which was created from scratch in the modern era, is within fractions of a millimeter of the Hamburger Valjoux monster, which was built up on the base of the chronograph movement over a series of decades. Even conventional Omega divers and chronographs now measure up to 19 millimeters thick, and this is one of the big differences between most Rolex watches and most Omega watches. It is the thickness, and that's something that needs to be taken into account when looking towards the future. Omega seems to understand this, and that's the reason we've seen a steady proliferation of manual wind conversions of the 8900, but it is only an imperfect remedy. You should have a movement that is both automatic winding and thin, and for that matter, another structural limit on the 8500 series movements seems to be its 60-hour power reserve with very little headroom to add more in automatic configuration. Now, we have seen manual wind derivatives that have 70 hours. They're not common, they're not everywhere, but they exist. That said, 60 hours was fantastic back on the original Hour Vision in 2007 when a standard ETA automatic had 38 to 42. And Rolex's workhorse 3135 at the time had pretty good looking 48 back in 2007. So 60 put Omega ahead of the game, at least at the time. But here's the thing, Georges Kern of Breitling told me in kind of a small group chat session back in 2018 that he saw the industry moving towards a 70-hour standard, and it was no idle speculation. This has happened. As of 2024, among others, Rolex, Tudor Canisi, Breitling, Audemars Piguet, JLC, and many, many more have standardized the 70-hour power reserve. Legacy ETA movements that have been improved over time have been redesigned to offer up to 80 hours of affordable power reserve in watches from Tissot, Mito, Longines, Hamilton, and others. All of which is to say, a lot of power reserve is now available for a lot less than Omega money. A vast number of Omega watches priced at 10 grand employ the 8900 and the 9900s and their derivatives. While a handful of manual models get a little bit thinner and longer legged, the market is always going to be in automatics, which is why Omega's automatic core caliber needs to find some way to source another 10 hours of power reserve or possibly go full blank slate. Given the compromises of thickness, the reality of modular complications, the relatively short power reserve by 2024 standards, and potential exhaustion of development potential in this nearly 18-year-old caliber family, perhaps now is a time for Omega to launch an exciting all-new movement architecture. I would not be shocked to see something new on this front this coming year. If it happens, it's likely that it would launch in a flagship model, something expensive, something possibly precious metal, possibly platinum, before proliferating across the model lines. For some reason, Omega always seems to use the DeVille as its experimental collection. Think about what we've seen in the DeVille model line. We've seen early tourbillon regulators. We've seen jump hours. We've seen the original coaxial escapement. When the Hour Vision launched, it was part of the DeVille catalog, with the 8500 and then later the annual calendar, another Omega first. So for some reason, when Omega has something new to say and maybe doesn't want to risk a failure on the market of a Seamaster or a Speedmaster, they seem to trial it in lower volume until they can build up momentum and acceptance in a DeVille. So don't be shocked if we see yet another experimental DeVille, maybe a successor to the old Hour Vision with this next generation bass movement in the year to come. And with all due respect to Ed White, I think this is another realization, but the caliber 321 belongs to everyone. Historically, there were Omega models that were not Speedmasters, including Seamaster chronographs that used the Lemania-based 321. And I think now that we've gotten our 321 Speedmaster fix, it's time to maybe consider doing a standard Moonwatch case with the 321, but also consider other model lines with the 321. DeVille, Constellation, Seamaster. That gives Omega a ton of creative room to innovate, imagine, and launch something that maybe is a resurrection of a classic reference, or plow something resembling an all-new furrow and launch something we never knew we needed. Maybe a 42mm ceramic Moonwatch caliber 321. Let's combine some of these threads of discussion from today's show, possibly with an included ceramic bracelet. The possibilities are endless. How much would we love to see an enamel dial DeVille Trésor chronograph with a 321 inside? I would. How much would we love to see a caliber 321 Seamaster chronograph like the CK2886 of the late 1950s? Again, intrigue. The possibilities are endless, and I believe there's room for Omega to now start building out the 321 across the model line. Don't make more of them. Keep it one watchmaker, one watch, but spread it around to other model lines to keep the movement special. Don't overindulge in the Ed White. Keep that scarce and maybe start paring down its volume. There should never be enough to satisfy the market. You should make one fewer than the market demands, and this is a great way to do that. So, how about another engineering thought? Let's expand the use of the SPY rate regulator across other models and other model lines. Introduced last year on the Speedmaster Super Racing, SPY rate comprises a new silicone hairspring design and a revised SPY rate regulator to permit easy adjustment of all thusly equipped watches for timekeeping tolerances no worse than -0 plus 2 seconds per day. For reference, get a good look at that. Here's the old system. And here's SPY rate. You could see how it becomes easier for a normal human being with normal human eyes and hands to make those fractional second adjustments. Needless to say, this is far beyond the COSC Swiss chronometer standard of -4 plus 6 per day. And it's even more stringent than in-house standards such as superlative chronometer, which is -2 plus 2 per 24, and Patek's 2024 claim of no worse than -1 plus 2. All of these fall short of what an Omega with SPY rate can accomplish. So, Omega's backed this claim by establishing a new laboratoire de précision. This is going to be a 2-location open testing facility located in Villeray and Bienne, and like the Métas standard created by Omega but available to anyone, for example Tudor these days, this laboratoire, well, I guess we're going to call it their name, it's the laboratoire de précision. Okay, the laboratory of precision, we'll call it, is going to be something where anyone having a watch being certified to or beyond COSC can send the watch to have it certified. So they're still using that COSC ISO 3159, but if a higher standard is requested, it can be obtained with certificate. Now this is not just Omega's creation. They worked with the Swiss Accreditation Service, and like Métas, which was established with the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology, the laboratoire is going to be something that is very much accessible to the industry, not just as sort of a captive certification by Omega, but a resource for showing that your watch goes above and beyond existing standards. So that has come online in conjunction with the rollout of SPY rate. And I think it's the beginning of a program to ramp up the SPY rate equipped watch, because if you remember, the coax started on a flagship watch, then it went everywhere. The silicone hairspring started on a special model, the 15,000 Gauss, and then it went everywhere. This is how Omega rolls out technologies. Start high and then proliferate. Okay. While we think about our laboratoire, we have our own laboratory of wrist shots from Kyle, who rocks a his and hers with Rolex at the Ottawa Senators hockey match. Out on the ice, twice as nice. It's one of the few photographs involving Rolex and ice that have nothing to do with diamonds. Richard J. anticipated our All Omega episode with his Seamaster Diver 300-meter James Bond 60th anniversary on a killer shark-proof bracelet. Jim R. drives his Tesla Model S after receiving his 1969 Speedmaster from the service center. Wear it in good health and drive safely. Jens E. proves that great things come in affordable packages with his Casio A1100, which I love. And Stephen E. thinks differently with his 1916 bought Hermès Arceau Grande Lune. Congratulations and thank you for trusting our company. Let's see what's going on. We got Ristocratic from Asheville, North Carolina. Guys, we're 291 viewers. Help me get that up to 300. It always makes a big difference. We've got Horace P. joining in. Yesterday, a major UK watch shop discounted its stock by 25 to 30%, suggested the brand is in bad shape. That might be the economic state of affairs in the UK, because that's not happening in the US. I think right now, in terms of economics globally, it's the American economy and everyone else. But the UK is not a bubble market in the sense that it's a bubble about to burst. It is a bubble in the sense that it's become an economic enclave that is almost firewalled from the watch markets of the rest of the world. Okay, we got Nudell 1306 joining in, and Jeff S saying that Hermes is awesome. Steve 1010 saying, greetings Tim, love the 321 movement. We got Harry Steve, I'm watching with both eyeballs. Does that count as two? I'll give it to you. We got Gags 117. Tim, how do you feel about the new Seamasters? Criticism deserved. I don't get too hot under the collar with those because, frankly, Omega has always been about variety. They're going to offer a ton of stuff. In addition to suit every taste, a model for every wrist and every market. They understand that the people who love the Griffin Claw constellation are going to hate the pie pan, and that the people who love the pie pan are going to hate the Griffin Claw. That the people who want a vintage Seamaster 300 are never going to go anywhere near the Planet Oceans like the Ultra Deep. So I don't get too upset about new Seamasters, new Speedmasters that don't suit my idea of what they should be, because I know I can go to Omega's website, and provided I have the patience to navigate that labyrinth, I will eventually find something I like. So why piss on someone else's favorite watch? You know what I mean? Vive la différence, as they say. Okay, back to our live stream. We got Moto Gunner saying, I saw the new Seamasters in metal today. Great pieces. Aluminum bezel is awesome. And we got AJ Hull joining in late, but hey, better late than never. I deeply appreciate it. Chris L saying, 301 watching. You just made my day, guys. Stay with me. More to come. Okay, so Omega Watches 2025, what to expect next year from Omega. Now, Omega tends to redesign its model lines in cycles. While incremental updates and models within a line routinely appear, full lines such as Constellation, Speedmaster, Seamaster, and DeVille. We've got our Constellation pie pans. We've got our Constellation Griffin Claws. We got our Speedmaster Moonwatch. We've got our Speedmaster Reduced. We've got our Seamaster Diver 300 meters, our Seamaster 300s, our Seamaster Planet Oceans. And then within DeVille, we've got everything from the entry level to enamel dial solid gold Trésors. And within these lines, we see full column-like redesigns of one particular subset each year. For instance, 2018 with the Seamaster Diver 300 meter, 2021 with the Moonwatch, 2020 with the Constellation. So, on that basis, the oldest model line that has not received recent attention, that is ripe for a redesign, it is the Seamaster Planet Ocean, which was remodeled comprehensively back in 2016, and I know because I was at Baselworld that year. So the world has moved on quite a bit now. It's going to be 9 years and a new series is due. So what do we think we'll get? Well, despite the addition of the Ultra Deep in 2022, and the Summer Blue last year, the Planet Ocean GMT Chronograph and Pure Divers are ready to be reimagined. Massive cases are on brand for such a watch, but I'm not alone among collectors who simply find many of the Planet Oceans impossible to wear. It's not that we don't want to, it's just that we can't. And I know I'm not alone among male collectors who can only resort to the female-oriented 39.5mm Planet Ocean case size, preferably in the black or chocolate ceramic for greater lightness. And I have to say, 39.5 to me feels like a men's watch in 2025. I see no reason why this needs to be pitched toward women. I have recommended that guys buy this, and I know it's the only Planet Ocean I would or could wear. I would say even the Seamaster Prof, despite its hardcore billing, take a look right there. It's 48mm across the wrist. Despite its odd shape, it wears more easily across a small wrist than the 45.5mm Planet Ocean, again, because of the narrowness of a Prof. It's long and narrow. It's almost as short, lug to lug, as the 39.5 Planet Ocean. That's 45mm across. The Prof is 48. Guys, priorities. If you're Omega in 2025 and you've had now almost 9 model years to think about what the new Planet Ocean should be and listen to collectors in terms of size, thickness, and weight, all of these things are priorities, and in each case we need to have less. Less is more in this instance. Less is also more sales, as people who like Planet Ocean will now be able to wear Planet Ocean. So I think that's where we're going right now. And if you want to be really different, a totally lugless Planet Ocean. Same dial, same bezel, but a lugless case, like the HYT H0, would be ideal for ergonomics and permit stronger differentiation from the bewildering array of other Omega dive watches. And it can be paired with a new generation of movements to produce a watch that's both easier to wear and thinner. So, take a look at that lugless HYT, guys. That watch is almost 49mm in diameter, 48.8, and it's also that distance across the wrist. Since it's round, its diameter is also its lug to lug. Now here's another thought. Maybe this time, make the Planet Ocean the Omega dive watch that first dispenses with the controversial external and manually operated helium gas escape valve. Now keep it on the iconic James Bond diver 300 meter. That's where it started, that's where it belongs, that's where it has its fans who expect it and demand it for long-running nostalgic reasons. But for the less tradition-bound Planet Ocean, consider something like the Breitling and Rolex implementation, where a flush valve opens automatically and doesn't need to be screwed out, and it simply activates when differential pressure dictates the need. It's basically set it and forget it because you don't need to touch it. And it's also sleek and unobtrusive. This would offer Omega buyers another option among their many. Answer an established demand from the marketplace and present one fewer opportunity for the Planet Ocean to gouge its users' wrists. Guys, now it's your turn. If you're watching this after the live stream, get down to the comments section below and tell me what you think Omega will do in 2025. Am I totally off base? Do you like my picks? Do you think it's going to go in a different direction, or is this going to be a bit of a gap year with no meaningful new models or developments? I like to respond to the comments down there, so give me some big bets and be bold. Also, if you're just joining in, check me out on TikTok, Tim Mosso. It's going to be a more humorous and fun insight into the world of Tim Mosso. Still rife with watch reviews, but you're going to get a little bit more of my quirky sense of humor and life and times. Viewer wrist shots number 4. Danny S. He's a regular on this channel and one of my top supporters. Features his 1916 bought Cartier Santos and Lexus IS350 convertible. Thank you, Danny, for trusting our company. Drive safely. Brian D. frames his and hers with Jaeger LeCoultre and Glasuta Original out for a drink in Miami Beach. August W. and his Seiko Sumo report from Kellington Beach, Nusa Penida, Bali. Beautiful in each case. I have to visit Kellington Beach next time we do a Debatoon event out there in Bali. Abdul R. He's a doctorate of engineering, and now he's at Berlin's Brandenburg Gate with his Berlin-made Philippe Pikulik Sternenhimmel, which is spectacular. Jeff S. is back from our chat box and previous wrist shots to take us home with the Grand Seiko SPGW 004 and his Rolls-Royce Ghost Black badge. Guys, send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com. Thanks to Sid tonight on the switcher, and thanks to you in the box for making the best job in the watch world possible. Until next week, time out.